what appears to be the biggest twist so far in the run-up to the US presidential elections, the incumbent president of the United States, Joe Biden, has decided to withdraw his candidature against Donald Trump. Late last night, the US president released a statement on social networking website X, where he confirmed he would not be running for re-election. In his statement, he said it was the greatest honor of his life to serve as president, and while it was his intention to seek re-election, it's in the best interest of the party and the nation that he has decided to stand down. Joe Biden says he will now focus on fulfilling his duty for the remainder of his term and speak later this week in detail about his decision.
Well, absolutely. And on that note, let's also listen into what Josh Book of the Associated Press also had to say about this then.
It's a historical moment. Joe Biden is not going to be the Democratic presidential nominee. He's out of the race, and there's two big reasons for this. The first was his debate performance against Donald Trump. He showed his full 81 years. He stammered, he struggled to answer, he struggled to fight for himself, let alone the American people who he says he's defending. This caused panic among donors and fellow lawmakers and raised fundamental questions about his age. The second major factor in this was the Democrats' own anxiety about beating Trump. They see a second Trump presidency as a danger to democracy, a possible end of the constitutional republic. They look at the ideas floated by Trump on tariffs as making inflation worse. They worry about the debt. They worry about international alliances. They fear Trump. And that overriding fear of Trump is what compelled them to say they needed another candidate for president. It looks like Vice President Kamala Harris is going to face Donald Trump in November. Harris finds herself in something of an unusual position. She was Joe Biden's vice president, and now, after much debate and drama, she's the Democrats' presidential candidate. Her background is unique, particularly because Harris exemplifies two key coalitions that Democrats need to have turn out in November. Not only is she a woman, but she's a woman of color with both South Asian and Black heritage. Those groups, women and non-white voters, have been key Democratic coalitions, and this will be a test of her ability to turn them out. We've seen as the campaign got closer that the former California senator and California state attorney general has focused on issues like abortion, on issues like voting rights, appealing specifically to those blocs. That's something of a difference from the start of her time in the Biden administration, when she was more focused on countries in Central America regarding immigration and kind of going out as a general surrogate for the president. Now, she needs to show that she can take those issues and build on them more and more on issues involving the economy, national security, and climate change. What Democrats say they want is a fighter. And in Harris, they have someone who's had many stare-downs in Senate committee hearings and in courtrooms. But now that stare...
Well, Snehi, what really stands out to me is that there was already a lot of pressure building on Biden to bow out of the race. There was a lot of analysis on that and a lot of people penciling in that he might do this. But what's interesting right now is that he's bowed out, but he's also nominated Kamala Harris. And he's not the only one who's backing Kamala Harris at this point, because you do have Bill Clinton as well as Hillary Clinton, who've also gone ahead and said that they're backing Kamala Harris as well. Staying with US presidential elections, then Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump reacted to Biden's endorsement of Kamala Harris, and he said he believes she will be easier to defeat in November's election than President Joe Biden. Trump and his campaign later also attacked Biden and Harris on social media while saying Biden was unfit to continue serving as president. On social media platforms as well, Trump said that Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve. So that's the latest coming in there in terms of what Trump had to say as well.
Absolutely quite the statement, if you ask me, that Trump uploaded on social media last night. But meanwhile, reactions from across the globe have started to trickle in. A whole host of leaders are lauding Joe Biden's move to step down from the presidential race. Now, you have Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He has said that Biden's decision to drop out of the race was deeply rooted and guided by his love for the country, and that he is a true friend to Canada. Shifting focus, let's talk about Germany. Meanwhile, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has expressed gratitude towards Biden. Alongside, he also added that Biden's decision deserves more recognition. Let's also talk about newly elected British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. He said that he respected Biden's decision and looked forward to working with him for the rest of his term. But you know what's surprising is that Obama and Pelosi have not specified if they are endorsing VP Kamala Harris for the presidential election. They've praised President Joe Biden's decision to step aside, but they have not yet made their stance clear on whether they will be backing Kamala Harris. So we'll be waiting for some development on that front as well, Shansi. Very interesting.
Also, take a look at some of these plane makers and chart the wins in their sales, because European plane maker Airbus has shortlisted 8 sites in India to open its second assembly line in the country in partnership with Tata Advanced Systems. The second plant will make the H125 and will be the 4th for the single-engine helicopter after factories in France, Brazil as well as the US. It will produce around 10 helicopters a year, with the first of these debuting in early 2026. The company also expects the Indian subcontinent, excluding Pakistan, to be a market for about 500 such helicopters over the next 20 years.
Let's keep it going with all these plane makers, and meanwhile, US plane maker Boeing expects a significant improvement in production flow at its 737 MAX factory as the plane maker battles to overcome a safety crisis. Speaking to reporter Stephanie Pope said that the changes being made to the Seattle factory area was significant. Meanwhile, the head of the company's defense and space division signaled that the unit was having a tough quarter.
All right.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.